Presenting the CW Crew.
Hey everybody, John Foss, CW Twin Cities. I am talking with Zora Howard, Rashaad, Ernesto Green. We're talking about their new film, Premature. I'm hearing great things about this film. Thank you for coming to the Twin Cities to show us this film and tell us what got you guys here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
You want to start?
What got us here?
Yeah.
So we've known each other, Rashaad and I, for quite some time, and we've worked together on a short film of the same title about, we won't say the years,
Okay.
a number of years ago. And we'd been over the years talking about working together again and finding the right thing to collaborate on. And about 2 years ago, we finally got ourselves together in a room and started to build what is now our film, Premature. And we had an amazing premiere this year at Sundance. And from that point forward, we've been on the festival circuit, and here we are now in Minneapolis. Yeah.
I've known Zora since she was 11 years old. I cast her in that short film when she was 14, and she just knocked it out of the park. And so here we are, fast forward some years later. We decided to collaborate again, and this time we wanted to focus on a love story. And as we were writing that story, themes from the short film kind of crept into our writing process, and we just embraced them.
Very cool. And I asked earlier, because it sounds like a lot of cities don't get both of you. The Twin Cities got both of you because you guys did the finale film closing night.
Yes.
So you guys came here because we're rolling out the red carpet.
Absolutely.
Tell us about that.
It's super exciting. I mean, we've gotten a lot of love from a lot of different cities. I've never been here before, Rashaad has, but it's been a while, so we're just very happy to see the city and to share the film with, I think this is our second screening in the Midwest. I think we've only had one other screening in the Midwest, so it's always great to have another opportunity in a different part of the country to show Premature.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of film festivals that we try to attend, but it can be very exhausting, the film festival circuit. So, we try to split them up. The ones that Zora can't go to, I try to go to, and the ones that I can't go to, Zora tries to go to. But in this case, they wanted us both out here. It was a closing night film, and we figured that we'd make a quick stop in Minneapolis.
Make it happen.
And Rashaad, you saw this talent, you said, when she was 14. What was it at that point that you thought, this person is an amazing actress? And then also to bring her back for this film and tell us about the performance.
Yeah, so when I met her when she was 11 years old, I was actually acting in Harlem at the time in theater, and she was hanging up the clothes after the show. And she invited me when she was 12 years old to a spoken word performance at that same theater. I went and I attended the show, and I saw someone with such wisdom and depth at 12 years old. She was talking about things that I was just beginning to think about when I was in my mid-20s. And so I was like, man, what a force, I felt that she was. So when I wrote this film about a 14-year-old girl who gets pregnant and has to deal with it within her family and community, and I was thinking about how do I cast someone who hasn't been through that experience, who could portray that on screen? I thought of Zora. I still made her audition, and she was fantastic in the audition as well.
She still has it.
And when we were filming that short film, and I gave a great responsibility of the research to her about like what a young woman has to go through when she's pregnant, what does it feel like to give birth, et cetera, et cetera. She did that homework, and when we were on the shooting day, I was sitting there looking at the footage, the performance that she turned in was so brutal and visceral that the DP and I walked out of the room after it was done and looked at each other and said, we have a film.
Very cool, very cool. And Premature already has 94% of Rotten Tomatoes.
94%? I thought it was 100%. Did it
Well,
go down?
Hey,
wait
there's
a
more
minute.
people hearing about it,
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So 6%.
You're in the 90%, you're fine. You're fine. But also, like I said, a lot of people talking about how great this film is. Zora, your performance. I'm going to have to break some news right now because I know the executive director, Jayden Satia, who told me that you are nominated for an Indie Vision Breakthrough in Performance Award for this festival.
Oh, how very exciting. I'm a nominee.
Congrats.
What do you think about that?
That's awesome.
It's really good direction.
Exactly. He's taking all the credit.
Oh
all right.
my gosh.
Should we just give the award to this guy?
I know, right? No, that's an honor. I mean, being involved obviously starring in the film, but also being involved on the other side and writing and working with Rashaad and kind of, being with this project from inception all the way to production and now distribution has been amazing. So any kind of recognition the film gets on any level, if they say the editing is great, if they say the music is great, if they say the direction, any part of it, I feel a great sense of pride because of my involvement throughout. So that's a great honor. Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah.
So 11 years you guys have known each other.
No, 15.
15 years. Okay, 15 years you guys have known each other. I know. So 15 years you guys have known each other. We'll edit that. See.
Oh gosh.
And you guys wanted to work together throughout the years. And then finally you're like, Rashaad, again, I think it was you that was like, all right, enough talk. Let's do this now. It's happening.
Absolutely.
Tell us about coming together and working together and why you wanted to work together in the process.
So we've actually worked together in a number of instances. When she was younger, and in the short films that I did for NYU, she also helped me out with some poetry in my first feature film. She helped write the poetry, and she had a cameo, small cameo in the film as well. But it had been some time before.
You wanted to write a feature together. Is that right?
I mean, that was the idea. We wanted to work together again in some capacity. And we had just been tossing around the idea for the last couple of years that perhaps we'll write something together one day. We just didn't know. But, I have been working in television for the past few years and really just wanted to make another feature. And I wanted to make a feature kind of at a budget level that I knew that I'd be able to greenlight the film just in case the funding process went south. So we decided to jump in the room when she had a winter break from graduate acting school at San Diego. She came home to Harlem. We jumped in the room and we said, okay, what are we going to write about? And we wanted to write about a love story. We did that. And we started bringing the film out to production companies and such. And we received a lot of interest. And it was wonderful. But interest doesn't put the money in the bank. So I just said, you know what? I really want to make this film. I believe in my friend. I believe in what we've done. Let's make this film. And I had help from a dear friend of mine, Susan Kelechi Watson, who's on NBC's This Is Us. We got help from a film organization by the name of Cinereach. And Kodak also gave us a wonderful film stock and processing for a great discount as well.
Cool. So you guys start writing the film together. Number one, what's that process like? And number two, how did you guys know what you wanted the story to be about? Did you guys discuss that at the beginning and then you take one part of the story and, Zora takes the other and then you compare notes? Or what's that like?
I think, not to give you all the secrets, but
Yeah,
but our process it started very organically. We live around the corner from one another, so the beginning stages of it was just coming over and listening to music and watching a lot of films and sharing a lot of stories from our own experience growing up in New York City, because that's another thing. We always knew that, I think from very early on, we knew that we wanted to set the film in Harlem because we both have such a deep, that's my neighborhood. I grew up there.
You both live there now.
And we both live there now. Right. And New York in general was just very important and central to the film, or what we wanted to create as well. And I think, so that kind of period of just looking for inspiration, being inspired, seeing what we gravitate toward, eventually led to maybe little pieces of the film. Like, we really like this, and we think there's a scene where this may happen, and maybe there was a draft, or maybe somebody went and wrote that scene, and then eventually it got to the point where we were kind of thinking in broader, sequences of the film, and thinking about acts, and thinking about what follows next, and really also focusing on Ayanna, because that was a conversation as well. It's a love story. There are two central characters, but we really wanted to tell the story through Ayanna's eyes, through this young black woman's eyes. So yeah.
Did you guys ever have times throughout the writing process where one of you wanted to maybe cut something out, and then you're like, no, you're not cutting that part out? You did?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of, there were a lot of healthy disagreements in the room, but of course, well, I get all to say because, I'm the director. No, in all seriousness, it was a very collaborative and a very healthy process. We've known each other for a long time, so we had a shorthand. Yeah. So those disagreements weren't necessarily fraught with, unhealthy tension. Right. It was if she really wanted a scene or if I really wanted a scene, then we had to fight for it and prove why it should remain in the film, for example.
Right.
And so we took the time, we were in the room, and then when she went back to school, then we would converse, over the phone, send each other scenes that we had drafted, et cetera, and that's how it remained. That process remained like that for about a year.
Are you still friends?
Yes, we are dear friends, absolutely.
Well, now that it's paying off, I'm sure it's, like even if you went through struggles, it sounds like you guys had a great experience. But even if you would have had like some tough times, now with the way that things are going and having the great critical scores that you're getting and being nominated, it's all the hard work is paying off right now.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think as well that even if the film hadn't met the success that it is, that we are still very proud of what we created. And for me, this is my first feature film, and to see the whole process and see what we were able to with an amazing team. It wasn't just the two of us, but what we were really able to come together with not a lot of resources, and not a lot of time, and create. It's a blessing that we've gotten the response that we have, but I think either way, coming out, we felt good about what we made, no matter what happened.
Right.
Absolutely, and there were production woes. It was not like, just one big happy story. Shooting in New York on a limited budget, in our homes, in the neighborhood, there were plenty of obstacles that we had to overcome. We were kicked off of the New York, the Metro North platform. We had one of our actresses go into a seizure and faint during one of the scenes. Wow. We had to go dark for a couple of days of production. I mean, it was quite the roller coaster, but through it all, we really were able to rely on each other, which is, just wonderful to have such a lifelong friendship be the foundation of the collaboration.
All right. So we talked about earlier, we got lucky. We got both of you guys. How did we pull that off, and what does it mean to be part of the Twin Cities Film Fest?
Yeah, so, Jayton has a real vision for Twin Cities that he started over 10 years ago, and he really, really fell in love with Premature and wanted to program it as a closing night film. So they really kind of rolled out the red carpet for us, so to speak, and we're able to bring both of us out, so we're really appreciative.
Awesome. Yes, thank you, Jayton.
Cool. And where's the film now? I know you're here, obviously. You were at Sundance. Sounds like a lot of other festivals. Where is it going through the film circuit, and then will be distributed at that point? Where can people see the film?
Absolutely. So we were picked up by IFC Films, and it will premiere it will be released in the first quarter of 2020. We're hoping late February is what it looks like in theaters, and you'll be able to rent it as well soon thereafter.
All right. Well, where can other people that want to, kind of do the thing that you guys pulled off? There's a lot of people that dream your life, but to actually make it happen, where do you start?
You have to write it down first. I mean, I'm a writer as well. Outside of the screenwriting, I write plays as well, and other literature. And you can have a million great ideas and have this whole vision, and that's what we had for a while, was this idea of doing something together, and it didn't become real until we sat down and did it. So you got to get that first draft of whatever it is, because then you have something to show to people and say, even if they don't believe in it, that's fine. You know you did it, and you have a calling card.
I can give a little anecdote. We had been talking about working together for about 5 years or so, but it wasn't until we were in the room, we set some ground rules. We said, okay, at the end of this month, we're going to have a draft of the film. You'll star in it, I'll direct it, and we'll premiere the film at Sundance in either 2018 or worst comes to worst, 2019.
Yeah.
So you called it.
This is before we knew what we were going to write about. But those were the ground rules that we set, and in 2 years' time, we were able to make good on that word.
So goals are important.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Where did you guys start? It sounded like you both started as actors, because you guys met as actors, right? How did your careers start?
I've always been acting and writing, but my writing started in poetry. He met me or I invited him to that first spoken word performance. That's how he was familiar with my writing, but I've always been doing both simultaneously. And now I'm getting to a point in my career where those two parts of my life are coming together. So writing for the screen and being able to perform my own writing and the same thing on the stage. But for a while they were kind of two separate lanes, and now it's very cool to see them, the convergence, I guess, of those two parts of my life.
Yeah, so I started out as an actor. I fell in love with acting when I was in school by the words of August Wilson. It really captivated me and my imagination. I earned a master's degree at NYU and came out in the real world some time ago, many moons ago, and realized that the industry wasn't necessarily telling the stories that I wanted to see on the screen. And I felt a real sense of duty and responsibility to create those stories if they weren't going to be made by the industry. And so I went back to film school to tell the stories that I wanted to see.
Do you still act?
That's debatable. We'll see.
Why don't you put yourself in the movie?
We'll see. I mean, actually that was the initial impulse behind going back to film school, was that I would do the Spike Lee thing or the Robert Townsend thing. But I got to film school and I realized that I really like being behind the camera. I didn't feel the need to always have to write roles for, a young black male, for example. I could write about a 14-year-old woman. I had a lot more freedom behind the camera than I did in front of the lens. So we'll see what happens in the future, but right now I'm comfortable doing what I'm doing.
And you mentioned you work in TV as well. Is there things that we would recognize that are your work that's out there right now?
Sure. Now, when I work in television, it's as an episodic director. So I hop around from show to show, directing episodes of television, anywhere from Vampire Diaries to Supernatural, Grimm,
CW, man.
Luke Cage, just a whole bunch of shows that you've seen, but I didn't necessarily create that show.
Yeah.
I just directed that episode. Now I could put my little creative spin on it, and it's great, but in the end of the day, it's not my baby. Right. I get to kind of flex those skills a little bit, more in a more well-rounded sense when originating the material myself.
Cool. So is there a website or people out there that aren't going to be able to make the screening at the Twin Cities Film Fest? How can we follow the film so we can find out where we can see it in the future?
Of course. Across all platforms, we're at Premature Film. So on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, I guess it's the --Premature Film on Facebook. And then we also have a website, prematurefilm.com.
Cool. What about you guys? How can we follow you guys?
And as well as IFC Films, they also have their websites as well. And so if you follow IFC Films, you will find out more about Premature. Awesome. And then as far as your individual social media,
I do have a Twitter that I sometimes use. Okay. It's at Zora Makes.
Very cool. Yeah. Rashaad?
You can catch up with me through the film. I tend to stay away from the individual social media.
Very cool. All right. Zora, Rashaad.
Thank you so
much. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you. Very excited.
For you guys. So awesome. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
The CW crew on the CW Twin Cities. DJ Bonix, Alexis Gore, and John Foss. Like, follow, subscribe to, and love the CW crew.